Hey guys, what's going on? It's your boy, the Mad Guy, going up here today with a game review. Today I'm going to be reviewing Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires. Yes, so obviously I just want to start by saying if you follow my channel, you know I'm a big fan of the Warriors games. Dynasty Warriors obviously being in my top favourite games of all time. I've always preferred the Empires games to the normal versions. So essentially Dynasty Warriors 9 was a complete mess of a game, as we know. I did like the concept of it going open world. Let's be honest, 90% of games nowadays that at least tried open world, Halo went open world, Gears of War had a semi-open world mode element. So a lot of games are doing the open world format, which, when done right, open world games, I love open world games, because it gives you that sense of freedom to really do what you want. And for Dynasty Warriors, I liked what they tried to do. Unfortunately, the game was just littered with, bugs and glitches and, for the most part, being quite empty, other than the battles. The open world aspect just didn't really work too well. So when Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires was announced, a lot of people were wondering, how are you going to do an open world game in this? And they kind of did, but they also kind of didn't. So first of all, obviously, what do you get in this game? Obviously, you get your conquest mode, your character creation. There is a tutorial as well. So I'll start off with the character creation. The character creation, I believe, is taken from Neo, which was also a Koei Tecmo game. Even though it's from Team Ninja. So the character creation is definitely a big improvement over the previous games. The previous games being quite stock character creation. This one definitely takes it up a little bit more. You have more freedom to, create the characters' faces and, doing the morphing and all of that. And you can actually create a fair amount of characters as well, which is great. Both male and female characters. Lots of customization choices as well, and things like that. So I think the character creation is definitely a big improvement over the previous games, for sure. Because I think 7 and 8 had pretty much the same character creation. So that's one big improvement I really do enjoy. Then we go into the actual game. Now, when I first load up the game, it gives you the option of action mode or movie mode for graphics. This is quite common amongst, new games, especially PS5 and Xbox Series games, where they give you the option, do you want the game to focus more on trying to provide stable gameplay, hence the action mode, or do you want it to provide more graphical enhancement? In this one, I chose action mode, because honestly, let's be honest, with a game like this, it's fast-paced, lots of enemies on the screen, you want that stable frame rate, of course. And to be honest, I haven't noticed much issues with graphics. Occasionally, you do get some pop-in and stuff like that. Graphics in this game aren't amazing. Maybe the PS5 and the Xbox Series version is better, I don't know. Obviously you do get a PS5 upgrade with this, so if I ever do get a PS5, I know I can at least get the upgrade for free, which I do like, smart delivery system and stuff like that. One thing that is a lot of people might be put off by, this game is only single player, there's no multiplayer, which kind of sucked. I would have liked to have co-op. Every other game had co-op. Unfortunately, it doesn't have co-op in any way, not even split screen. It says network features, but I'm guessing that's just like updates and things, no multiplayer. So what is the Empires mode? So essentially, as we know, the normal Dynasty Warriors would be follow either character stories or family, the kingdom stories. In this one, you basically, it's the same as the previous games. You choose a scenario, you choose what kingdom you want to play as, what character you want to play as, and then you basically assume the role. You have 3 different roles you can assume in this. You have Vagrant, Officer and Ruler. As a vagrant, you know, you can just go from place to place and essentially try and find a kingdom to serve. As an officer, your role is to basically carry out the orders of your ruler, and you don't get as many options. And then obviously as a ruler, you get complete freedom to choose what you want to do. So it's basically split into two modes as previous games, where you have your strategy element, and then you have your battle element. And there are some changes to the battle element which I actually really like. So we start off with the actual strategy side of things. It's very similar to Dynasty Warriors 7 and 8. You know, Dynasty Warriors 4 and 5 had a very similar system. 6 was its own thing, and 7 and 8 had changed it up. So essentially what it is you you know, you choose, you know, your orders essentially, you know, what you want to accomplish in the upcoming months essentially. So do you want to focus on building up your army? Do you want to focus on, you know, getting your soldiers stronger and your officers stronger? Or do you want to conquer a land essentially? And then you've got your standard thing, you know, you're managing your gold and your ration resources, you know, building up, you know, each individual area, and then obviously building up your army and taking over things like that, and defending your territories and attacking, which I like. At first glance, you know, it might be a bit overwhelming for some people, but once you get a grip of how it works, you kind of you know what you're getting yourself into. Unfortunately, there is one big flaw with this system. The problem I have is when you want to attack or defend an area, especially when you're defending, if you don't move characters from a different, you have to really keep an eye on the map and see what places connect. You'd think, oh, just if there's one area next to another area, you could just automatically attack that area, and anyone in the kingdoms that you have or the areas that you own, you'd think, okay, I can push these soldiers and officers into battle. No, you need to keep an eye on the actual bit that's connecting to that area. Many a time when I'm defending an objective or go to an attack an objective, only to find that I don't have enough officers in that area to really accomplish the mission. And it's annoying because if you want to move the officers around, it takes up a turn from your, it takes up one of your turns. So that is kind of annoying, but you know, once you figure that out, you really want to keep an eye on that concept. You know, it makes sense. You know, previous games did that, but in the older ones, it was more obvious. In this one, it's a little bit more complex, and you need to figure that one out. For certain, you know, so 9 times out of 10, you want to, you know, it's annoying when you get a new officer and you go, oh, I can play as this character, only to find that they're not in the area that you want them to be in, and then the battle starts and you're like, fuck's sake, and then all of a sudden, 2-3 turns later, they're like, I'm leaving because I'm not happy that you haven't used me. So, yeah, that's something that kind of pissed me off. Gameplay wise, so the combat is essentially the same as Dynasty Warriors 9. So instead of the, you know, square, triangle attack mode, you have your basic attacks, and then you press R1 to, you know, use your special attacks essentially. I did enjoy the combat from Dynasty Warriors 9. It felt much more fluent and fast paced. You know, it is definitely more button mashing than the previous games, and it is hectic and crazy, and I like that. You know, just pure hack and slash at its finest. You know, so but then obviously you also have another thing where you can basically implement special cards essentially into your battle, and they can give you special abilities like increase your character's health for the next 10 seconds, or, you know, do a fire attack or a blaze electric attack or something along those lines, which does help in battle, and it sort of gives you that edge in battle. So the open world element is changed. So instead of you know, it being one big map, essentially the only open world part is you can do a thing called take a stroll, and essentially what you do is you go around an area that you own, and obviously you can talk to officers, interact with people, buy and sell stuff, and do that sort of thing, and that's your open world aspect of the game. I believe you can explore the open world as well and do like things from the previous game, like hunting and stuff. But I haven't come across that yet. I think that's more so when you're playing as an officer or a vagrant, whereas as a ruler, you just want to focus on building up your army and, you know, accomplishing missions. Um, so how the actual main battles work in this one? They're basically siege battles. So essentially, you either attacking or defending a castle, essentially. Um, and obviously you capture bases and stuff like that, kill officers, you know, defeat officers, and capture bases, and then essentially you have like siege weapons like catapults, which will constantly attack other bases or the lookout towers, and then obviously your battering rams and your siege towers, and you have to sort of move them towards the castle. And then once you've taken out the lookout towers or broken down the gate or whatever, you go into the main castle, and then you basically defeat the leading officer, and then you win the battle. And the same thing for defense is obviously you have to defend for a certain amount of time or defeat the leading officer. There is a new feature called special secret plans, which occasionally you can implement before a battle, and essentially they basically are just extra objectives that you have to do within the battle, like defend these peasants for 3 minutes, and then they'll give you extra help in the battle and stuff. I do like that concept. Unfortunately for me personally, my biggest issue with these secret plans is 9 times out of 10, they just end up getting killed. Like, he's got like 3 different people you have to defend. As long as one of them survives, it's fine. But how you're meant to defend all 3, and that's something also I find in this game is quite tough to try and micromanage everything. You know, and especially the AI, for example, you know, 1 minute they're saying they're getting attacked, and before you can even get to them, they're dead. That's been an ongoing issue with Dynasty Warriors for a long time, is the other officers are just useless. One feature, though, you can't do that you could do from the previous games, a lot of people with the whole, to win a battle quickly, just take out the main enemy officer. You can't do that in this one. Like I said, if you're attacking, you can't just go straight into the castle, because you can't even use your grappling hook until you've taken out the lookout towers. So you can't just go straight in and kill the enemy officer. And the same applies on a defensive battle. The enemy officer will only spawn after you've, you know, pushed them back a certain amount of, taken them out a certain amount of their enemies and stuff like that. So yeah. All in all, I think it is a mixed bag of a game. I like the improvement they've made. You know, I think it definitely is in there. I do enjoy it. You know, I'm playing more of it later on. I don't know if I'm going to go ahead and try and do every single scenario. I ain't gonna lie. It does feel like Dynasty Warriors 9 with some slight changes, essentially. Is it an improvement over Dynasty Warriors 9? Yes and no, depends whether you like Dynasty Warriors 9. I think if you're a fan of the Warriors Empires games, you'll like the changes they have made. Like I said, you know, I do like that element of the taking over the castles and stuff like that. It definitely makes for longer battles. You know, battles aren't lasting, you know, 2 or 3 minutes, you know, and stuff like that. It can be overwhelming at times, you know, like I said, when you're trying to micromanage. You can't just go in with one officer and expect to win a battle, because you will lose quite quickly. So they have sort of put more focus on, make sure you're preparing your using those strategy elements and preparing your armies and characters first before going into a battle. Which I do like. You know, it's a mixture of strategy and action gameplay, which not many games do well. And this one does it decent. You know, it's not the worst thing. Like I said, if you enjoyed Dynasty Warriors 9, you probably will enjoy Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires. Depends whether you really like the open world aspect. Like I said, it doesn't feel like a next-gen game, at least in my opinion. It is still buggy in areas. Graphics leave much to be desired. But because you're not exploring like the previous game as much, you know, because it's more contained, you know, you don't feel like... I think they sort of realised that. A lot of people are saying Dynasty Warriors 10 might go back to the original style. we'll see if they do a Dynasty Warriors 10. I don't know if they are going to do one. You know, these games it's a niche market pretty much. You know, if you're a fan of the Warriors games, you know, you're going to buy the next one, obviously. It's no different to FIFA or Call of Duty, you know. If you're a fan of the series, you're going to want to play the next one and see if they've made any changes and updates, you know. You're not going into expecting, you know, a completely new game, you know. But I digress. I'll give it I think for me personally, at the moment, I'm giving it a 7 out of 10. It is better than the previous game because it's more contained. You don't feel like you're wasting a lot of time. It is pure action-packed. I like the strategy elements. It's not a perfect game by any means, but I definitely think I'm much happier that I paid £17.95 for it rather than the full £50 when it launched, because I think if I paid the full £50, I'd be a bit more disappointed in it. So I can't complain too much with the price point, and I know that I can trade this in and get this pretty much the same as what I paid for it back as trading credit, and, you know, maybe use something else. So Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires, a nice improvement, some nice changes, but still obviously lacking in some areas. But I enjoy it. You know, some people might not agree with what I say about it, but this is my personal opinion. And tonight I'm gonna, my Jigsaw turned up, which was actually quite nice that it came with a slipcover, although I'm not happy about that. World of Books. Yeah, it's got a crack in the case. I mean, the disc looks fine. Obviously, it's the Blu-ray disc. The disc looks fine. So, you know, I don't understand why there's a digital copy for War of the Planet of the Apes there. I don't know how well you can see that. Hopefully the camera shows it the right way. If it does, feel free to try it. I don't know why that's in there. But I digress. Like I said, I recently rewatched Saw 1 to 7, so I'm gonna watch Jigsaw tonight. I watched it a long time ago, and I remember enjoying it up until the last like 5 minutes with the reveal. So I figured, you know what, I might as well watch it tonight and check it out again and see if I still have the same opinion on it. That happens sometimes with some movies. Not many movies that I don't like I rewatch. If I don't like a movie, I don't keep it in the collection. I don't rewatch it. If there's a movie that I'm sort of torn between, I didn't hate it, but it was okay, I might give it another rewatch later on and decide whether or not I enjoyed it. But I'd much prefer this over Spiral. I know a lot of people are saying, why don't you have Spiral in the collection anymore? Because it's a pile of shit. Upcoming video idea, I'm going to be doing a video talking about 5 movies I will never watch again, and you can get back your ass, Spiral will be on there. And this does have some special features as well. That's the one thing that was missing from the Region 3 release. But I know that they did do the Saw Legacy collection, which included Jigsaw as well. But I'm not sure if that has special features. So yeah. One thing I will say that actually I've seen that has come out, which I do want to get, is Austin Powers has finally received an official UK limited edition collection, but it's HMV exclusive. But I had a look and it's only $29.99, so I might pick it up because I've heard that it's much better than the Region 3 Austin Powers Blu-ray trilogy, which I believe actually had some cuts and things like that. So it'd be interesting to see whether the UK release, plus it comes with some art cards and behind the scenes information and stuff. So, and I love Austin Powers, so but it is HMV exclusive, unfortunately. You can't buy it on Amazon or anything, so I was like, fuck's sake. I've never brought anything online on Amazon, HMV, and I don't want to chance buying online because I've heard mixed reviews. I don't know if it's on Zavvi, but yeah, so let me know what you thought of Jigsaw, what your favourite Saw movie is. Obviously I'm a big fan of the first one, and of course if you enjoyed today's video, feel free to leave a like, comment below, let me know if you played Dynasty Warriors 9 Empires, what your favourite Warriors game is of all time. Mine is 5 Empires. I always enjoyed that game. is a little bit rough around the edges by today's standards, but I put a lot of time into that game. And let me know your favourite of the Saw franchise, and are you looking forward to Saw X? As always, guys, subscribe if you haven't already and join the family. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at the Mad Kiger, and have a nice day.